Hi everyone. Today is October 5th, beginning of the new week here. What week is this? This is week 7. This week is just going to be lab time for students to finish up the labs and to work on their assignment. Okay. Flower Shop lab, which I assigned last week, is due this Wednesday, the 7th. So please complete that. This is kind of once again just practice of, working on how to take like a mock-up or a design and break it out into or construct, break it out into HTML and CSS. Also, due this Wednesday is your story map and your kind of content. Okay. So remember the story map, we went over this last week, and if you haven't seen it, please go back and view the module, which would have been odds and ends, where we talk about story mapping. But you guys are going to create a story map. The story map kind of lays out your story, your multiple page story. So it's like, this is where you start. This is where there's a diversion or a decision that goes on. You can go this way, you can go that way. You can go through door A, you can go through door B, kind of thing. You can build it in any program you want. So you can use, like, say, Adobe Photoshop, Figma, Adobe Illustrator, Photopea, whatever you want, as long as you can draw it out if you want, as long as it looks professional. It should map out your ideas of like, okay, this, we start here, we go there, we go there, we end up here, kind of thing. Okay. This is to help you kind of figure out later on like what pages you're going to need for your project and like how they're going to be connected, which is really discussion of hyperlinks and things like that. The other is to start getting all your content together, which I hopefully you've started. The first is to start gathering all your images that you're going to need. Remember, for this project, you're going to have images in your page or you being used as like a background image in CSS. So please be working on that, getting those together. You can use resources like Pixabay or Pexels or Morgfile, or you can even draw your own if you have the time, and more power to you if you want to do that. You can use AI. I'll allow it for in this context because this is not a photography class or it's not a design class. So if you want to, I don't really care if you create the images yourself or whether they're generated in this particular context. But I do want you to start getting all your content together. That'll be due by Wednesday. This is really so that you have it and you can start focusing less on the design and less about gathering things and more on the actual coding aspects of things. Um, I also want you to write out your text. Once again, this is like planning out what's going to go on your home page or the first page, what's going to happen at this page, what text is going to appear here, 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 here. So start thinking, start to think about it in advertising and other kinds of, business. This is sometimes referred to as copy, what is said here and there. And there's a whole industry, or there was, who knows now that AI is kind of disrupting things, but there are people who are copywriters who write compelling dialogue, compelling information. So think about, I want you to start thinking about that. You can just write it into a Microsoft Word document or a text doc, TXT file, or something like that. And you'll be submitting the folder, zip folder, and your image, your story map and your content on Thursday, or sorry, Wednesday. Okay. It's due at the beginning of class, this particular aspect, because you guys are going to go over it in class as part of a, kind of a student feedback kind of situation. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, davidhurwich@sfsu.edu. Okay.